What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Chiefin With Daily Dale. I'm your host, Dale Fowler, along with my partner Lonnie. Bro, how you doing today, man?
Good on this beautiful Sunday.
Man, we're gonna go ahead and jump right into it. We're gonna be definitely talking about the wide receiver room today. We're a heavy topic based on that, and then we're also gonna be diving into some Andy Reid and Bill Belichick talk. We know it's been a lot of chatter going on this past couple of weeks about who is considered the greatest coach of all time, with both guys having a decent resume, well, great resume, more than decent. So we're definitely gonna jump into that. But let's just go ahead and go right into it. So, Lonnie. Fox Sports analyst Nick Wright does not want Patrick Mahomes to recruit wide receiver Deandre Hopkins, who has reportedly kept in contact with KC throughout this free agency. Do you share these same sentiments? Just because, I know in past episodes we've just been talking about how let's just go ahead and move on from that. Let's just focus on the guys we have in the room right now. So, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, so I love to see D Hop in the Chiefs uniform, but however, I think from a dollar standpoint, I don't think the Chiefs are still in this race. If anything is from a championship and competitive standpoint, that the Chiefs are even up remotely a part of in the talks with D Hop. I think this is all money based. It's a money based motive here. That's why you have the teams listed that you have, such as the Tennessee Titans, the Patriots, and things like that. As far as the wanting to win, the will to win, I feel like that if D Hop really wants to win, you know where he wants to go. He knows where he can go compete for championships at the drop of a hat, and he knows where he might have to put in a little bit more work to get what he wants. However, too, I think the Chiefs wide receiver room is loaded, so we have a lot. It may just crowd the
Too
room even
much.
more. And if you barring injury, you have some guys that you may want to keep that have to get cut because Diop is here now. So it crowds that room a little bit. Just barring injury, if no one gets hurt, because I feel like we have a lot of potential. I know we bank on a lot of potential here, because we know we've seen what they have in that room, and we've seen the kind of guys that they picked up, and their younger, fresher legs. It's just I that that kind of clutters the room up a little bit, but it makes it a little bit awkward because you have a guy like KT and you have guys like Scott that were first round talents or first and second round talents, that are supposed to be leading that room there, and it's came out in the stories before that you expect them to be leaders. I feel like that kind of shatters all of those rumors or those talks of that when you kind of bring in a D Hop, because he's going to take away some touches from someone there. Um,
Hmm.
Being that this offense is a spread it around type offense. We always forget. Forget about MVS because like he's like that lost name in that mix there. That room, like I said, is just
No
crowded.
offense.
It'll be hard fitting him into that room. But it's like we can always use another playmaker. It will be great to see. He is up there in his career, so you wouldn't be as many snaps and as many hits on his body. It would be like more of I feel like a specialized use type deal, um, unless he
Hmm.
wanted to take more snaps. But I feel like D Hop is wanting to show that he still got it, and he's still the best wide receiver in the league. And I feel like that's why he has the team listed that he has listed. And so I don't really share the same sentiment as far as him wanting him to be a chief or wanting him to be recruited as a chief, because it's great, but we have a lot of guys in that room, and I feel like they can carry us a very long way, and even get us back to that number one wide receiver core, that we've been the past couple of years.
Yeah. Even though I'm over recruiting him, I think at this point it's just if you want to come, you want to come. I'm not gonna lie, I will still want him a part of this wide receiver group. I understand that it is loaded, but either way it goes, it looks like what we're gonna even talk about in our next topic is some of our favorite guys that we're expecting coming up in camp might be cut. So, and added to the practice squad as well too. So, I think with him coming in, you know, he's gonna he's gonna take that juju role because we, as a bigger body receiver who has the size, who can win those jump ball opportunities, and then also he's a great route runner as well too with great hands. He's gonna bring another asset that we need to this offense that will make us useful and even more of a threat going forward in this next upcoming season. But at the same time, I think when you're playing with the Kansas City Chiefs, no one's really a true number one wide receivers because we can have a number one wide receiver in any game, and that's what they did last season. It was games that Juju had a solid game. It was some games as well too where we saw MVS step up as well, and we saw some of those other guys come in and then play a big part as well too. We had Justin Watson who was really solid for us, and then also of course we're not going to forget Travis Kelsey who is a tight end. However, he plays a position like he's a wide receiver. So he's already averaging around 100 yards a game himself. But bringing that type of player in with D Hop, he's gonna take up what we wanted with Juju, but I think do a lot more. I think he will be 1,000+ yard receiver. But at the same time, what it does for KT, we need that replacement for McCole anyway. Even though McCole wasn't solid last season, he dealt with injury. This is what you're going to be. What we wanted with him, but even more. You're the potential of a number one wide receiver as well too. So you're going to have both of those threats because we see what guys like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle doing over there in Miami. I consider them 1A, 1B because they both put up over 1,000+ yards when given the opportunity, based off their attempts as well too. Jalen Waddle somewhat had a better season, even though Tyreek Hill had more yards because he was the guy who was scoring more touchdowns, along with having the yardage in those those reception, those yardage after the catch as well too. So it's just what I see with a lot of those teams on with a lot of those other teams. I can see that happen with Kansas City as well too, because KT not only does having a good wide receiver room helps with his health, but he does have more time to like take off on snaps. He can savor his body a lot more just because we have the potential everywhere to where it's going to just be something that's running so fluently. Now, I don't think they're gonna go out their way to go get DeAndre Hopkins, but I definitely don't mind him coming and being a Chief as well too. I think he's gonna add another level in that veteran ability as well too, to where he'll be able to uplift those guys. Because I feel like if he wanted to sign with the Patriots or the Titans right now, he would have done that. He already visited both teams. He did enjoy the visits he had with them as well too. So, I mean, depending on the money, they said the money is there. I think he's just waiting to see what the Bills or the Chiefs does in their off season before like probably camp starts or the preseason start. I think he just want to see what type of moves are they going to make to create cap space. Because I don't think he mind just coming in on a 1 year deal and just to prove himself, and then the next year go somewhere else. I think he wants to try to win a Super Bowl now and then try to get paid later, even though he's 30 years old. At his age, he still, depending on his health, he can still probably have 3 or 4 more years good from him, because we saw what Larry Fitzgerald did as well. He almost made it to 40 years old at that wide receiver position. It's not that D Hop is really, he's not injury prone as well either. He is actually pretty durable. If you look in prior seasons, he played every game in each season. What happened? He had that one injury season, and then he had that suspension season as well too. And the Cardinals wasn't good after a while, so his reps probably diminished as well too, just because they weren't going to make it to the playoffs and they didn't know what the future was going to hold with them going forward. So I'm okay with it. I'm gonna be honest. I'm preparing my mind for both ends. That's all, and I'm not trying to cheat what we're talking about right now. I want him. I don't mind. I know a lot of others be like, we don't want to take away from everybody else. We have faith in the young guy. That's fine, but we can't do that forever. I don't want to keep on putting pressure on young guys. I want to be able to build them as well too. If some of them guys can, like I said before, we have dealt with injuries throughout the season before. So a lot of times you'll be called up and we'll be able to see your potential as well too, depending on what happens. And we saw McCole out a lot this year. We didn't get KT into the trade deadline, and he was out some games as well too. You saw Juju deal with injury a couple games as well. So you're going to have the opportunity to present yourself and move up. It's just, will they last on that practice squad and someone not sign them that go up to their active roster? That's where the question lies, and we're going to talk about that in the next segment. So, but yeah, that's what I feel about that. I think bring him in if you can, extend Chris Jones, get him in here on a 1 year deal if you can, maybe 2 year. If you get him on a 1 year deal, was where it was a sense of base like DeAndre, like Juju last year, where it was like 1 year, 7 million, and then based on the incentives, what he can make, he could have made up to like 11, 12 mil. I think even more. and he did meet some of those marks as well. So I think just depending on what is presented to him, I don't think he want to be in a single $1 million digit years. I
Yeah,
think he want like 10-year plus.
yeah.
And he probably don't even want the Odell like that. But if you can kind of get me to 14,
But
13, that he
but
probably be like,
and
all
this is
right,
the thing. I don't know, and this is we know, like you said, we said before. Veach values his picks. I don't know
he
how much
does.
he's valuing those undrafted guys. I don't know how much he's valuing that
Exactly.
potential. We don't know how
Exactly.
much he's valuing that wide receiver's potential that's 24 or 2023 and
Over somebody at
DeAndre
30.
and over someone that's 30. So like it's that's what you get there. And then you got a cheap deal. I'm gonna work this deal how I want to. Cut you
Hmm.
if it really gets down to it, I just let you go and it's not even gonna touch my cap. And then
Yeah.
now I got to do a deal with him and he's gonna hurt my cap. And he might
Yeah.
even mess me up a little bit. So you got to weigh your options for real there, and it got to be something that's really team advantageous, especially when you're in gun mode like the Chiefs. We know the Chiefs are. So like we
Yep.
know the Chiefs, they're all guns blazing and straight ahead. Boom, they're out the gate. They're not trying to give nobody, bless nobody. Only person
Yeah.
that probably get a blessing is Chris Jones right now. But
Yeah.
other than that, I don't know.
But
We'll see
you
though. We'll
know,
see.
where there's smoke, there is fire.
It is definitely is
If he
always.
if he would have signed already, I think this might been the first wide receiver I seen in a free agency that was really like I might really want to go to the Chiefs
That's true.
on something cheap, just because he didn't met all the requirements to be a Hall of Fame wide receiver. He didn't had multiple thousand plus wide receiving seasons. He was the leading reception leader as well too. He didn't done all of that in Houston with Deshaun Watson, and I think he misses that because they were a playoff team when they were both together, healthy and all. I think he wants that in his later part of his career, and then having the opportunity to be like, okay, I can really go to the Super Bowl because these boys in 1-2. I need this. I want to be considered with the greats like Randy Moss in them. I think that's really weighing on him. I think he wants the best of both worlds, but I think if it comes to this season, I feel like he really might be like, I'm a bet on myself because it's too long. He was released. He had the opportunity to go sign anywhere else he want to go, but he just waiting like, I think I really might want this championship, bro.
Might.
And then I can go if I'm 30 and I'll be 31, 32 next year, and I'm still playing up to par, and I didn't had a solid season with the Chiefs or the Bills as well too. These are playoff teams. I could go and show myself, go to the AFC Championship game somewhere I haven't been yet. Go to the Super Bowl, even if what he was to lose, is just having that feeling. I've been in
Getting
one,
there.
getting there. But he wants one, and he feels like he feel like, I think he's like, I really think I could put them over the hump. I like what y'all was missing, even though y'all had it last year. You got it this year again. So we'll see how it goes. It's fun. It's fun. But I really think Nick Wright said that just because he saw what happened last year, and I think we're looking for the longevity of the dynasty for the Kansas City Chiefs. We'd rather be cheap and have the talent there to where we can keep on building off of that and moving forward to where that's how we move going on, and those players feel like, okay, this team doesn't really need me. Now that might strain some relationships, but that's how it goes in the business of football, especially in the NFL. You're gonna do what's right for your organization, and as an individual, you're gonna do what's right for your career. So if it's just not meeting at that line, and you got to part ways, that's just how it has to go. But let's go ahead and jump into our next topic. Now, like I said, it's heavy wide receiver topic based episode. So Chiefs are predicted to cut a fan favorite wide receiver. Lonnie, who you think that is?
I don't know. You gotta tell me because I don't. You saying who do you think it'll be the fan favorite will be?
They said Justin Ross.
Oh yeah. Now, let me say. I'm gonna just. I'm gonna give you my spill on it. I don't think that's happening. I don't see it happening. Like we just said before. How much do you think Veach values his picks and banking on that potential? That's a young wide receiver that has a ton of upside. If you don't know who Justin Ross is, go look up the national title game when Trevor Lawrence won as a freshman. You get real acquainted with Justin Ross and what the ability that he has to stretch the field, and his playmaking ability as a freshman. This is as a freshman in college, going up against Tua Tagovailoa, the, the dethroned Alabama,
Yeah.
actually in that game in San Francisco. So I see that the potential is Justin Ross is just so great. I don't see them doing that now. John Ross maybe. But Justin Ross, I don't see them doing that. I see at least him getting at least some preseason snaps in the
Oh,
Chiefs uniform,
he's
significant preseason snaps. Just because Mahomes spoke about it last year before he went back down for foot surgery. The way he attacks the ball, we've seen clips of him like he snatches the ball out of the air. So like he's one of those guys that is we're not gonna I'm not gonna say Jamar Chase because he's we haven't seen him, but Jamar Chase esque. As far as like just a wide receiver type talent, he has that type of ability. This is
and
a
if
guy
he's
that
that type of
through
player,
and
why
through
would you go get
receiver.
D Hop and mess that up?
That's true. And that's the only reason only reason we say that though is because like you said, it's that juju guy, it's that vet guy, right? That can
Hmm.
make you, they can give you them extra. Oh, I don't need to be told anything on this third down. I'm
I
gonna
know
just
what to
stop right
do.
here or sit down here. You know what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
it's stuff that you kind of got to teach a rookie, and you may not have to teach him right there in the moment. You may teach him a little bit later. Like you probably should just sit down right there, or like
But I start looking at I start really calling out the names as well too. We did this a couple of times as well, but I started looking at it like he could end up on the practice squad just because. Okay, if we go down the line, so Kadarius Tony 1, Sky Moore 2, MVS 3, Richie James 4, Justin Watson 5. At 6, it has to be Justin Ross or John Ross.
and as I said, I don't
Or
think John Ross is making the roster.
hold on. Rasheed Wright. It's
Well,
hey, it's too. So let me say that again.
it's because Richie James might not make the roster
It's actually
unless you can get him on special
he has
teams
to
or
because he's
something.
a great special teams person, a returner, and all that. You can take KT off of those returns if he's gonna be the number one wide receiver. That's what they did with Tyreek Hill. He's just gonna be the guy you go to in those moments where you need a game changing play,
So
right?
Justin Watson is not making the roster then.
Let's say it again.
Because Rasheed Rice and Justin Ross have to make the roster.
Unless we carry 7, we're not carrying no fullbacks.
So that okay.
That's where that
But you
extra spot
carrying
might
three
go
tight
to.
ends.
But you carrying 3 tight ends for sure. You're definitely gonna carry Kelsey,
Or
Forson,
like you
and
gonna
Noah
carry
Gray.
four tight ends. Because you gotta carry Bushman.
But they still got Blake Bill as well too. I don't think Bushman gonna be. I think Bushman gonna be a guy who might end up in the practice squad. I think he's gonna show his potential. But if Jody Forson is injured at any time this season, you remember we had that conversation as well too. That's where he's gonna be able to step in. I don't think someone's gonna take him out the practice squad from us. So I can reserve. I'm okay with 3. Actually, if because what they said, Noah Gray's gonna play fullback. So unless you want to shift him over there, but that's then Blake Bell got has to get beat out by Bushman in. So let's go back to the wide receivers though, because this is a great conversation. That's why I'm glad we're talking about because we got to put it all together. Kadarius Tony, Scott Moore, Rasheed Rice, MVS, Justin Watson. That's 5, right?
Hmm.
Richie James or Justin Ross, and who brings in more?
Or
Honestly,
John
right there,
Ross.
or
And
John Ross.
then you put D Hop in that conversation. So then you would you take Justin Watson out and you
So
put a and you then he's in that argument now. Like is he going who's gonna make that roster? They all gotta fight for that last spot. Justin Washington, John Ross, Justin Ross, and because D
we
Hop
gonna
is
have
like that'll be
everyone.
ridiculous.
We're gonna have more conversation about that. Trust me, because we're gonna have to really break down this wide receiver room because there's a lot of potential right there, and we got to figure out. So I'm glad we're talking about this right now. We gotta let go. We gotta forget DeAndre Hopkins. Money wise, all that, just let it go.
Yeah,
If
it's a
he's
lot
really coming
going on
on
there.
some vet minimum, that's where you're in the pickle. Where it's like, okay, I'll take whatever y'all want to give me. And then it's like, okay, we can take that risk of Justin Ross going to practice squad for they if he can. But you just gave Justin Watson that 2 year deal. I feel like that solidifies a spot for him on the roster because he's going to show you what he has in preseason already. Anyway, he did it last year with us, and he's a guy who just know how to get open on the field. Sometimes his hands can be questionable, but he does make a big play, and he does have big moments as well too. And he has that playoff experience and Super Bowl experience as well. Now winning one with us last year, so he solidifies himself as a veteran in that slot position in that fourth or fifth option spot. So he's okay. MVS, we signed him to a 3 year deal already, and he had a solid 1 year with us, even though he didn't. I don't think he got over 600, if anything, but he did come down the stretch good in the playoffs, and then in that game against the Bengals in the AFC Championship game, then
Hold
also
up.
had a couple catches in the Super Bowl as well too. He That's someone throughout the season who has made plays when we needed it, when we didn't expect it. When you're seeing Mahomes throwing that vertical route to him in a slot down the middle, and you feel like it's a jump ball situation, and he's for some reason he ends up with it, or he's behind the safety. He's one of those guys too that knows how to get open and can slip in those coverages to where he can make himself an asset and gets open to get the catch. And now we're down in the opponent's territory. So he brings that type of presence for your offense as well too. Now we know what Kadarius Tony going to do because he did it last year. We saw him adjust his glove mid game. The Jaguars. That's when I knew he was the truth. I was like, okay, this kid is going to be special. Rasheed Rice, we saw the potential he had out there in SMU. Hey, he had a 1,400-yard season last year in college. And I think he's going to bring that same type of play into this season as well too. And then Sky Moore, they loved him. He made some plays last year as well too. He was a second round pick, and then he has been one of the best wide receivers in OTAs and coming up to camp. That has been so special. He solidifies a spot as well too. I'm sorry, and so we might just put up sometimes with Sky Moore if he has to go back there upon return. I don't care because I want him on the field. So I'm gonna be honest, like Justin Ross really might have to sit.
I don't see it, but okay.
He might have to sit.
I don't see it personally, y'all. I just don't see it. You'll see the. I think if he might shine so hard that he just can't.
Preseason is
He
coming
can't
up.
be sit down. He can't be sit
Preseason
down.
is coming up.
Yep.
That's
So
why
we'll see.
I do this every time. If once I see in the game, Justin Watson did it to me too. I was like, what he's doing? I was like, he getting open and he has that connection with Mahomes. If I see that first game with Justin Ross in the preseason, where it's just like mind blowing, we're gonna have to put up with getting rid of letting go of Richie James. We're gonna
They
have to
probably
let
got a plan for it. They got
yeah.
some. They drafted some secondary guys that play special teams.
And if these guys all come together this year, MVS might be gone next year too. I'm
He
for
only had
real.
a 3 year deal.
He only had a 3 year deal. They take that cap. It won't be that much of a cap hit in that last season.
He
It
probably
wouldn't be
played on
that
that
much
last
more.
year.
And they might give him more money as well too, just before, like a bonus or whatever. Just up that way that cap hit is not as crucial. Because if these guys come out and they're balling out and it's like, oh, he's doing it with whoever, yeah, they might be okay with running it how they have it. Like honestly. And it is very exciting, bro. Like to just see. I can't wait till training camp starts. I can't wait to see all the videos, what's out there, how they've been looking, because they're gonna be in pads as well too. So we're gonna see first contact. They're gonna be doing those scrimmages with other teams as well too. We're gonna see what type of potential they have. And August is just only a month away.
Yep.
That Hall of Fame game, like on the third or something like that. Then the week after that, preseason time, ready to go. So it's gonna be fun. I can't wait. But we're gonna go ahead and send this over to a quick commercial. Once we come back, we'll talk about some more wide receiver talk. And then Andy Reid right here on Chiefin with Daily Dale.
What up, KC? On the heels of yet another Kansas City Super Bowl victory, we have an awesome opportunity for you to broadcast your business to the local Kansas City market. We've created something called Kansas City Sports Company, which is a sports media hub for multiple live shows, all of which cover all the local Kansas City teams. Now, we have 30-second ad spots, 60-second ad spots, we have event sponsorships, studio sponsorships, show sponsorships, and much, much more. This is a great opportunity for you to start early with us and broadcast your business to a very dedicated, very enthusiastic Kansas City audience. Contact me or hit the Contact Us link on our website to learn more about this opportunity.
All right, welcome back to the episode. Now diving into our next topic. Lonnie, Bolt Beat and a couple other outlets had Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver room ranked as the worst in the AFC West. This shouldn't come as a surprise because they are very young and lost some key pieces this off season. So where would you actually rank them out of the AFC West entirely?
Yeah, so I definitely don't rank them worse. That's like not
Blasphemy.
the truth, but okay. I would make them one or two, and this is not me being a homer or anything. This is just me being realistic. We just talking about all the potential they have at wide receiver. That only would rank them. I would rank them two behind the Chargers. The Chargers have probably the second best. I feel like wide receiver potential as far as the
Hmm.
AFC as far as the AFC West goes. As far as just like those home run hitters, those big names, the Keenan
Yeah.
Allens, the Michael Ben. I'm sorry, not Michael Benjamin, or Benjamin. Not sure his name, but uh, and then you
Oh,
have
you got Quentin Johnston,
Quincy Johnston. You got
Mike Williams,
Jalen Guyton. Mike Williams is his name. I'm sorry,
Keenan Allen.
not
Yeah.
Benjamin. Yeah, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Jalen Guyton. Then you got Quentin Johnson. So like I'll be rating them behind that wide receiver core, just being that they picked up Quentin Johnson. They got a bigger body. They always have bigger body guys at their position at that position. The Chiefs usually have smaller cornerbacks, which we kind of do. We're picking
Yep.
later in the draft, but we do have some bigger guys too, bigger guys as well. And Joshua Williams, Jalen Watson is a little bigger guy, kind of bigger guy. So um, I want to see that. I only rank them number two, just I want to see how they fare, how good they are. But I will give the Chiefs that number one because KT, I feel like is a force to be reckoned with. We've seen that before. We've seen they're using them as a weapon, like we've seen them in the Super Bowl. Those like them using those jet sweep motions are giving defenses fits at night, making you have nightmares having to switch all that stuff. Him and Sky, whether they're not being that they're not attacking it with the same speed as Tyreek, but they're still attacking it their way and finding ways to have success. It's
Hmm.
becoming a real threat. So I feel like that that puts the Chiefs at number one. And just having guys like that other than MVS, which we know we signed to be that number one. That's like your traditional wide receiver. That's kind of running those go routes, your nine routes, your slant routes, things like that, things of that nature. So I feel like that's what just separates them from the rest of that wide receiver group. We have some legit playmakers in that group right there. Now the Broncos they also have playmakers Jerry Judy, Cortland Sutton, KJ Hamler. I don't know if Hamler's still there, um, but
Hmm.
yeah, they have some playmakers in that room as well. But I would definitely have to give the Chiefs one or two. I definitely don't rate them the worst in the AFC West. Those guys, I want to give those guys just a little bit more respect than that because they are Super Bowl champions and they have showed that they can have success in the NFL at a very high level.
Yeah. I'm put Chiefs at number two. I don't think they're behind Las Vegas. I don't think they're behind Las Vegas or Denver Broncos at all. I do respect Denver Broncos wide receiver group as much as uh the the Raiders. I do like Devontae Adams. He was a threat in every game we played him in this year. Like he was getting off. I'm not gonna lie. But I do like what they have over there with the Broncos with who they have they got
Cortland,
Sutton.
yep,
They got
Jerry Judy,
Jerry Judy. They had Patrick as well too.
yep.
It was a solid core. Then they had some decent tight ends as well too. But the wide receiver group, you know, they don't have a bigger name than probably uh Devontae Adams and Renfro, of course.
Mhm.
With the Raiders, that's probably why they're behind them. But I think the potential and the talent that they have, if they're all healthy, they produce. Now let's talk about the Chiefs. Um, like you said, KT, we already know what he's going to bring to this offense. He's going to be not only a gadget guy, but he's going to be someone who's going to be commendable in that route running, uh, that route tree that we have for him as well too. We saw him this past couple days on his Instagram where he posted, and his cuts are very sharp. It looks like he's very much of working on faking those guys out as well too, not really knowing where his step is going to go and where he's going to lead, and that's going to put him in, with at the advantage against those opposing cornerbacks. And if he stays healthy and his, his hamstring and his, his legs is good and strong, I think he's going to be perfectly fine and he's going to be very effective. Scott Moore, he already had that route running ability as well too. That's something that we very much hyped before he even got with the Kansas City Chiefs. And once we got him in the second round, a lot of guys was like, okay, this will be a perfect fit for him. Then Rasheed Rice, this is someone who's very dominant. He's good. You saw, like I said already, he had a 1,400-yard game as well too. Even though he's a rookie, this upcoming season, oh, well, and I mean 1,400-yard season last year in college, but I think he brings the potential that we need in that wide receiver group to where he can handle his own. And then of course we have MVS, Justin Watson, guys who are veterans who have been solid with us, who has been great fourth and fifth options for us as well too, along with just adding more to that wide receiver room. So I think with them just being a Super Bowl contending team last year and winning the Super Bowl and being champions, they got to be in that top two. You can't really take that away from them. The only reason why I'm going to put the Los Angeles Chargers ahead of the Kansas City Chiefs is because their wide receiver room is deep and they have been the best in the West for a couple years. It's just they haven't been the better team than us in those years. Justin Herbert, he's a good quarterback. Keenan Allen, one of the better wide receivers in the league. Mike Williams, who has had exceptional seasons with them, dealt with injuries sometimes, along with Keenan Allen as well too. But their third and fourth options, it could be like second or third options on another team. Josh Palmer is pretty decent. Like you said, Jalen Guyton, he has had great games, had some pretty solid games against us as well too. And then you add someone like Quentin Johnston, who the Chiefs were trying to acquire in the draft, but got taken a couple picks before our before our pick. So I mean, it's just they're so deep, and that's why you have to respect what they have over there. And that's not even a slight towards the Kansas City Chiefs because all we if we were ranked the worst even in prior seasons and we still won a Super Bowl, what do you think we're going to do now with guys who have a year under their belt and building our wide receiver room up from, uh acquiring a guy like KT last season at the trade deadline that's going to bring more swagger, more of what we had with Tyreek Hill in prior seasons, even though he's not as fast, but he has that same skill set and has that same quickness on the outside as well too, along with being having that breakaway speed once he gets out in the open field. So I mean, it's okay, and that's why they're number two because they're the youngest. Like I'm not gonna put them over them. That don't mean, but who has the better quarterback? The Kansas City Chiefs.
Gotcha.
So at the end of the day, they're set up to be better than them this season just because they have one of the best quarterbacks in the league who's going to be able to get you the ball on the money, who's going to be able to get you in those situations to where you're only going to be able to be accessible to catching the ball and just leading you in the correct path as well to winning games, having that experience. Justin Herbert, I love him, but sometimes he gets soft in those in those games to where when it's coming down to crunch time, he's throwing an interception, he's getting sacked, he's not getting out of pocket quick enough. He's doing a lot of things to where it kind of falls on the offense not completing it, even though they have won some games before, but he just doesn't have that experience that Patrick Mahomes has. And that's why I'm always going to give them the edge. So but I feel to have the Raiders and Broncos over them, I don't like that because in the games that we played against them, our wide receiver group was better than those. The only games that I can say was with the Broncos where Jerry Judy then had uh had a great game and he played better in the second half and to where he ended up with 100 plus yards. Now Devontae Adams, he's going to get his regardless against any team, so you're not really mad about that. But then you have Hunter Renfro. He wasn't that effective this season. He didn't have a great season as in whole, but he didn't have a good game against us. But they did pick up guys like Keelan Cole, also who have they picked up as well too. So they got Keelan Cole and then they were able to get Jacoby Myers as well too from the Patriots. So those are decent pickups. But Jacoby Myers was fine with the Patriots, but he wasn't someone that I was afraid of in the passing game. So I'm not going to really give that edge to them over the Chiefs like that. So I'll have it like this: one Chargers, two Chiefs, three Broncos, four Raiders. And really, the Broncos and Raiders are interchangeable. Better yet, I'm gonna just go ahead because of Devontae because he's a beast. Three Raiders, four Broncos,
Yeah.
and I'll leave it at that. So that's how I feel about it. That's bull. It was Sports Illustrated. They actually had the Kansas City Chiefs as the best wide receiver group in the AFC West. And like I said, I think they're commending us for a Super Bowl win and what we were able to do with that group and seeing the potential that's on that group as well too. Where it's like, okay, they're playing with Patrick Mahomes, and then a lot of these guys could have been first round talent. You have a Justin Ross who we don't know if he's gonna make the team or not, but he was a first round talent. You bring him up, and he has that potential of being someone that's like you compare them to Jamar Chase. We're not saying that, but we didn't saw him in practice where Mahomes has praised his play. So it's just a lot going for our wide receiver group, and that's why I'm going to put them in that top two groups in the AFC West. Now, anything else you want to say before we move on to our next topic?
Yeah, definitely. Just definitely, yeah. Put some respect on the Chiefs. They definitely need to be at least top two. Period. Any category when you reach them out receivers.
Yeah, those are facts. We always have one of the top wide receiver groups in the league, even though we're not we don't get that love when they do
Exactly.
those preseason rankings before it starts, but we end up in those rankings later on because you doubted us before. So that's all I'm gonna say on that. But let's go ahead and move on to our last topic. Mike Vick makes a strong opinion in the past week, claiming that Reid will go down as the greatest head coach of all time. We all know many consider Bill Belichick to hold that title, but strong cases were made for Reid for while Reid should be considered the best. How do you feel about that, and where would you rank Andy Reid all time on the coaching list?
So I couldn't put a number on it, but I think Andy Reid is definitely top five.
Hmm.
I Andy has done everything in his career from winning
Yeah.
in the NFC as a coordinator, winning in the NFC as a head coach,
Hmm.
going to NFC championships, winning some with McNabb, going to some with Vic, almost winning some with Vic. Getting to the Super Bowl with McNabb. Unfortunately, he lost in the NFC. Then Andy comes over to the AFC and
Yeah.
sustains his success with the Chiefs. Rejuvenates the Chiefs, brings the Chiefs back to life, rejuvenates the
Hmm.
franchise, gets them to the playoffs, makes multiple playoff appearances, eventually getting them to the AFC Championship.
Yep.
Going to 5 AFC championships, winning 5 AFC championships, going to 3 Super Bowls, and winning 2 Super Bowls. So I think the 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 resume speaks for itself with Andy Reid. It's a Hall of Fame resume. Doing it in 2 different conferences, and 2 different parts of the staff, being a head coach and a coordinator. It just shows his greatness, right? Working with
Hmm.
great players that the likes of Donovan McNabb, Brian Westbrook, Michael Vick, Jeremy Maclin, Jason Kelsey, Travis Kelsey. So just having those really great players, Jamal Charles, and just and really making those players and turning them into really all time great players. Jason Avant, just to name a few, just a couple of guys. Like Andy does this in his sleep, so it's just like it's kind of like. I feel like he cemented himself winning those 2 Super Bowls, and I feel like he's got to be top five. Of course, we know we got Belichick in there, and then I think Shula's in there somewhere. I'm pretty sure.
Hmm.
And so, but I feel like Andy's up there, is at least top three, man, in there in that argument with him, just because he, like I said, the resume speaks for itself. The NFC championships, I don't know how many NFC championships, but it's countless. And then
Hmm.
to come over and do the same thing, like I said, rejuvenate a franchise that was dead when he got here. I think in 2011, right?
Yep.
It was nothing. It
Tw-
was nothing.
uh,
Or 2000,
2013.
2013, it was nothing when he got here in 2013. So to rejuvenate a franchise and bring them back to supremacy and bring them back to that mountaintop, and then to have someone to get Andy over the hump, right? Andy has always
Hmm.
had the success, and the ghost that haunted Andy was always that he never had a Super Bowl. it was like it was a dark cloud over his head that followed him for a long time, and he finally had got one, and he was able to get back to another one, appear in three, and win two of them. So I feel like that Hall of Fame career is already submitted. I feel like any more now is just like candy, is sugar on top, or a sweetener on top, whatever you want to put on there. It's just adding on to that resume, and making him an even goatier head coach, and just a goatier person. So I at least give him top three.
Top, yeah, because I was gonna put him actually in top three as well too, because you do got the John Shoes in the world, you got the Cowards, you got the Bill Parcells, you know Shula, all of them. It's just a lot that's going on. But just based off his resume and what he has done in his tenure as a head coach is just phenomenal. He been to 13 championships games. He been to eight in the NFC and five straight in the AFC as of now. He's 20 and 18 in the playoffs as well too, and he made it to the playoffs 19 times as well. So it just shows what he has done over his tenure, that he has been considered one. He should be considered one of the greatest of all time. Now I can understand what the argument with Bill Belichick, because he has six Super Bowls and all of those being with Tom Brady, and then he had two as a defensive coordinator as well too when he was with the Giants and Parcells. So I understand why people feel like he is the greatest of all time, just because what he was able to do, especially being a defensive minded head coach as well, and having some of the greatest defenses in those times where they did win. However, I'm one of those who says it's going to depict how what you like in a team that makes you feel like if they're the greatest of all time. Because like I said, if you love defense, we talked about this before we even got on, if you love defense, you're gonna go with Bill Belichick, because he made stuff happen with a lackluster offense, but having one of the toughest defenses of all time. He had the Richard Seymours, he had Teddy Bruschi's,
Ty
had
Law,
Mike Vrabel, Ty Law, the Gilmores, all those guys, those twins, the McCourty twins. He was just able to do everything with
Dante
that type of unit.
Hightowers.
Dante Hightower. He just had a lot of great talent on that defensive side. And a lot of those guys didn't even come out as really the best in their position when they were drafted. They were built into that into the system that he was providing for them, and they just excelled in that. Now with Andy Reid, and then you got to think about too that moniker that everyone always had as well too, with defense wins championships. So if you're going based off of that as well too, you're going with probably Bill Belichick. Now, my case for Andy Reid, this is a guy who was an offensive minded head coach, and all his all his Super Bowls was won based on the offense. Things that people say doesn't happen. I'm going to outscore you with my quarterback and my talent that's surrounded around him. And he did that twice. And he might continue that on throughout his tenure as well, too. Now, I always said, Lonnie, he's going to be a part. He's going to be here for most of Mahomes' time here in the NFL, because Mahomes might get him four more. And if he ties Belichick and Belichick is done by then too, and he's done after that, and they're both sitting at six, they're interchangeable at two, one and two. Off, it don't matter where you put them at. It's just they're going to be interchangeable. Now, a lot of people want to say is they're going to depict what Andy Reid does and how they felt that we lost in those games and in those playoffs and those times he was here before Mahomes came. Bad situational football, just not having smart situations with timeouts, not utilizing them, put taking your foot off the pedal, and they're going to have all of that. But sometimes it shows you what you can do with a quarterback as well too, who understands the game just as much as you do. And that's what Bill Belichick had with Tom Brady, and we see the decline that he has had as well too. So that's why I think the argument just goes back and forth, because what you're saying about one person, you're going to say about the other. The only thing Andy Reid doesn't have right now is championships.
Yes.
Now you got to think about it as well too, because there's coaches throughout the same time. Bill got you in one championship, the New England one versus the Eagles. So he beat you in one of those, and then he controlled that time period when you were with the Eagles as well. Now it's your turn, and you are able to catch up with that. So I think that's why I might give him the edge right now, just because of that. Like, you have the accolades, but Reed, I'm just trying to be fair. That's all I'm trying to do. Because when it comes down to it, they both in their specialty, they're the best at what they do. Like the mindset wise, they're the best at what they do. Defense, best defensive mindset. Offense, Andy Reid, the best offensive mindset. They both have their flaws as coaches, where they have some, knucklehead mistakes. He's not saying, not doing the right things or calling the right things at the right time. They didn't have, situations with that. But I will say Bill was able to do it earlier on in his career, and Andy Reid is going to do it later on in his career
Yeah.
at a later age.
Eh,
And then when he meet him at that mark for Super Bowls, then it's going to be like it's interchangeable.
It is, but this is the only reason I give a nod to Andy Reid. He's like us, like we were like you said, we spoke about this before, but it's
Mhm.
the NFC. He did it, like you said, eight NFC championships. Bill hasn't
Yeah,
done it in two different conferences.
he
Bill
hasn't.
did it. Bill has done it as he did get 6 Super
He was
Bowls,
a
but he hasn't done.
coordinator.
And he
He
was a
was a
coordinator
coordinator.
in a different
Yeah.
conference. He did coordinate with the Giants, but has not done it in two different conferences. Going to have that success as a head coach, and then move on to another conference, rejuvenate a franchise, and have success again in a whole nother conference. So
But
that's the only reason I give him a little bit of a nod. And if he was able to get the extra Super Bowls, that would just be a cherry on top. And I feel like that definitely puts Belichick at 2, because they're going to be like Andy did it with eight straight in the NFC in Philly before he even
but
came over here and seen what this was like.
But this is what someone's going to debate with you as well, too, Lonnie. Unless you include that Cleveland Browns run he had as well, where he was let go as the head coach, and then he went over to New England to become the head coach.
Mhm.
Then I understand what you're saying, because he was in the same conference and he did coach for multiple teams. However, I will say once he got with the Patriots and throughout his time and his tenure, he hasn't been fired, and he was actually chosen you know, over whoever he was chosen over the players per se. Something if sometimes you know how it is, if a player is having friction with a head coach, depending on what type of player it is, they let you go. I think it was some riff with Brady and Belichick. I don't think it was something big or major, but Belichick was someone, he's not going to overpay like Brady. I don't care who you are. I'm not going to give you that. Like, and it's time now in the quarterback driven league, you're not going to do that to a quarterback. It's not going to last, right?
Yeah.
So I think Kraft chosen him over that, which I can give him a nod on as well too, because Reed, the Eagles chose the organization and where they was going over Andy Reid, and he had to go to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now I will say this: just like he had his time with Cleveland and then going to Patriots, he's done his time with the Eagles and then going over to the Kansas City. Kansas City is probably not going to let him go at all. He's going to retire at Chief.
Yeah, for sure.
It's going to be him saying he wants to go, if anything.
Yeah,
So that's where it's relatable too. That's why I can't. It's like it's so much. It's
it's a
just
lot.
so much. It's so much. But being who I am, I'm gonna just be real. I'm gonna give Belichick the nod right now. But Andy Reid is my favorite coach of all time. He's my favorite coach of all time. What he did for us, especially coming from kids who didn't seen just a carousel of coaches that came throughout Kansas City with the we had our guy Dick Vermiller first, and then get having Todd Haley, to having the Romeo Cornells and all of that. We dealt with some different things and some tough times, but Andy Reid, he brought over a winning culture, and he made us adapted to winning, and now we're succeeding, and we're overflowed with the success that's happening now, and it's well deserved, and it needs to continue for years to come as well too. So right now, but Mike Vick, he did say in his statement, he said I think he said when once he retire, he will be the greatest of all time. So if he's saying once he retire, I think he's including that he's going to win more championships as well too, and it's going to be undeniable that you have to give Andy Reid the greatest of all time. But rankings right now, I say him, Belichick 1, Andy Reid 2. So anything else you have before we go ahead and get out of here?
None on that. None on that. Put some
All right.
respect on Eddie Reid.
What did I say disrespectful?
I'm saying anybody in general. You
I'm
and everybody
cause
in general.
what did I say disrespectful?
I'm just saying in general.
Nah, nah.
I feel like
Like if
Andy's
it's not
disrespected.
one, then I'm
I
just
feel like I
what?
feel like Andy's
Come on.
disrespected, bro. He got to. But like you
Come
said,
on,
all
y'all.
right. I know. I feel you. I feel
Come
you.
on, y'all. I can't be real no more, man. Nah, but that's all we have for this episode of Chiefin with Daily Dale. Make sure to follow us on all our social media platforms, KC Sports Company on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Follow me on Facebook at Dale Fowler Jr. Follow our podcast on there as well too, Chiefin with Daily Dale podcast. And then on Twitter, Dale E. Fowler. Instagram, Daily underscore Dale 39. And then Lonnie, his Twitter underscore Lano with 2 N's. And then Instagram underscore Lano LONO underscore.
Yeah.
All right. So that's all we have for this episode of Chiefin with Daily Dale. Talk to y'all next time.